This is Lis Nielsen, Artist in the Woods, and today I am going to show you my materials that I have for painting in gouache. Now, the reason that oil painters tend to paint in both gouache and oil is because gouache is much more easy to take out in certain areas. Now, I still pack my oil paint wherever I go, but in some ways gouache is lighter, it's easier to set up, it's easier to use water than it is solvent, that kind of thing, and easier to clean up. I'm going to show you my materials and then I will attempt to do a painting. I haven't painted in gouache for some time, and but I love the velvety texture surface of the gouache. I'll show you a couple of gouache paintings that I've done in the past, and they were just small paintings, and I tend to paint small with gouache. So I'll start with the materials and then I will start a painting and see if I can finish that today. So thanks for joining me, and don't forget to subscribe and like my video if you do like my video, and hit the bell for notifications. Hope you enjoy this video. What I've got is I have a watercolor palette. One of the challenges with gouache paint is that when it dries here, it's not as easy as watercolor to re-wet and reuse the paint that's in the wells. I have this bottle that I use to spray and keep these moist. It's my same palette that I use. I am using a watercolor pad, an Arches pad. I use tape here, Artist Tape Pro. I have some softer brushes that I have purchased, and you can use watercolor brushes for these. This is an aqua tote, and I love these kinds of bamboo brush holders. They work very well for carrying brushes all together, keeping them nice and undamaged for the most part. I'm a fish out of water with this today. I'm just going to intuitively be painting with gouache, and as though I'm painting with oil. This is a photo from a family member, and I'm going to go ahead and use this. I wanted to bring the tree closer over here. I'm going to see if I can make that work. So very simple composition that I'll be using. I'm going to go ahead and start by wetting down my paper. So I'm just going to spray it so it dampens it a little bit. And then on here, I also am going to wet my palette a little bit. This is feeling really dry, so whenever you're feeling that dryness of it, spray it down and get it moist. Now, the flowers in the foreground are really important to me, so I'm going to give them a lot of important space, and the rest of it should be subordinate to that. Now, one thing about gouache that is different is that, like watercolor, it dries darker. This big hill of wildflowers. I'm hoping to make those kind of fun. On this pad of paper, what I've done is I've put tape across here, and I can flip it over and do another painting down here, and then later cut them apart and frame them. The last time I painted in gouache, I actually used some watercolor along with it and put a watercolor wash under it. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to be using the gouache. So in this case right now, I just want to get some green on this hill, and then I can build up my color. Actually, that's almost the perfect color for up here. I'm just mixing that yellow, the light yellow, and then this is not lemon, but it says yellow light, and then this green that I mentioned. If we are traveling, if we stop along the road and we're having lunch and I'm really taken with the scene along the road, I want to be able to pull something out that's really easy. Pull out and pack back in pretty easily. Now I'm going to go ahead in with these darks like I said I was going to do. Real darks around the bottom of the tree. So I'm mixing, I've got my alizarin and my two blues, and then going in with some of the cooler yellow. This is very, very dark. And remember what I always say, use the largest brush you can handle. It's really helpful. You'll get used to it in no time at all. And believe me, it really is helpful. And it covers more of your canvas or your paper too. So a lot more easily and looking less forced. A lot more natural. Okay, and then you'll see there's, just looking at the rock, very similar color in here in this rock area. The rest of the tree is pretty dark, but it's definitely greener. Let's see if that will read right. need to go lighter for the light part of the tree. So let's see her. A little bit of white. I want to keep on putting water on my paint as well. So that's really important to keep things moist. I think that gouache has become very popular with people. Okay, now to blend it, I might be able to use a soft brush in there, get it a little wet, and blend it in. Wet it a little bit and blend it, and that will help to bring it together more. So you can re-wet gouache, that's another thing. You can rework it, whereas with watercolor you cannot. Actually, I think I'll do that mountain, and that is going to be that blue that I always talk about with the mountain. I'm going to actually wet this down before I get going on that because I want it to be a soft line in there. Becomes the catalyst to help things move along. I'm going to smooth this over as I go. I'll go back into my blue now. There is some color in this mountain. It's just to remember that it is further away, and it is that dark element in the scene is important. Let that down. If I wet it too much, then it will run. Do the rocks in here. See if I can mix up some rock color. They're warm looking, kind of pinkish in tone. Top of the rock there. Alrighty, now I'm good to go darker than that. Using some of my ochre and a little bit of the blue. This is also in the grasses. You can do that. You can look for common common colors, you know, within the grasses, and you really do want that harmony to be there. So I'm noticing some of this coming down in here, and then I want to go even darker for the rocks and that. So I kind of went backwards on this, and I went in with my light first, breaking my own rule there. I'm like I said before, I'm doing this intuitively, so what feels right to me. Sometimes you just need to try something. I guess that's what I'm saying. And experience it and see how it works for you. Some of this very light grass tone that seems to be sitting right up on top of here. It's grown right up in here. And a little more yellow into that. A little more warmth. Upcoming trip, you will see me working with some gouache. There is some of this in here. Okay, some of it can be dry brush and some of it can be put on wet. All right, now I'm going to go down with some of these grasses next. Let's just give that a try. A lot of times you just need to put it on there and see how it is going to look. Go ahead with some of these warmer tones in here. Right into that green. Okay, some of those grassy things happening. And now some more of that yellow and green into that. Maybe using some of the ochre. Light greenish yellowish tone there, and then as you look down into them more, then you get more of the chroma down in here. So now I need to go in with a darker tone, but look at the purple that's happening in this plain here. Purples and pinks and oranges, yellows. I want to go in with some of the dark that is there under it a little bit. So I want to see those darks, and then I'm going to go on top of that. So here's some darks in here that I'm seeing. Look at this dark that I missed in here. This is important. This is an important little piece in here. And I will go back in over the top of that. It holds your eye, it pulls your eye one way or another. Those darks are really important. And then I'm also seeing that in here. When I squint my eyes, I see some going on in here. And then I'm going to see some in here. The flowers will come up on top of this. And in here. And then some even darker tones in here. Underneath those. grasses there. Some right in here. Kind of bluer. Some of them are bluer. There's variation in here. Let's hold that eye in there. You can use your darks in that way to hold the eye in, hold the eye back in to the painting. Now I am going to take my dark down here under those rocks a little bit different than what I see. And then I will see if I can mix up some purple. So this is a nice safe place to put it. The alizarin is the closest thing to the purple, and then I will try to mix in some, let's see what's going to happen here. It is right in here. See, I might have to go in a couple times with this. Have white in with it. Sometimes with purple you have to add a little tiny bit of yellow in. I think I actually got it now. Let's see. And these flowers, they grow in sheets. It's like sheets of flowers. It's really interesting. They stay together. It's because the seeds get spread in close proximity, I guess, to one another. I guess that's the best way to explain it. So these are lupin. I love lupin. I grew up with lupin all around the area where we lived when I was a kid on the hills. Such a gorgeous little wildflower. They're a wildflower here in California, and I know they're all over too. It's not just California where you see the lupin, but I love them. They're so beautiful. They just cover hills. Then occasionally you'll see more blue mixed in with them, and then you'll just change your colors. Don't try to be precise. Don't try to paint every flower. It's just not going to work. So, and it's not going to look right. It's not going to look free enough. These are gorgeous little free flowers against this dark. Wow, they really pop. See how you can put it right over the paint that's there. You cannot do that as well. Well, with watercolor, you can put dark over light, and that's why you start with the light with watercolor. You can't go the opposite direction with watercolor. With gouache, you can go both ways. So it's a much more freeing kind of a medium. There are poppies in here as well, which is the California state flower. I'll go back in with my green around, like the little dance, but you want to get that pattern down. There is a pattern, and that's why you want to close your eyes, squint your eyes at this, and see the pattern of this coming across, this coming down in here. You want to see that pattern, and you want to follow those kinds of things. And a lot of times the lupin are so far away, you'll just go across the hill with a horizontal stroke to get like more in here. This would be more of a horizontal stroke of that color in there, and it actually works. You know, try it out. And that was more like a dry brush in there that I just used. There's some more in here. And you don't see those individual flowers. So you'll see me going back and forth between this sort of emotion with this, and I'm using a flat brush, believe it or not. And then I'll do some of this using the flatness of the brush. You can see where it's getting very dark in here. I want to do a little bit of poppy color in here and see if I can get it to, see if I can make it light enough. I want it to be bright blue. How will I do that? I'm going to do a wash to get the really light tone there, and that might be the key to that. So not using white, but doing a wash of the ultramarine. Just going to use water and ultramarine blue. Wet it up there, and then So I'm going to take my paper towel and wipe it. And if the watercolor paper is good enough, you should take this abuse and give me that lighter tone that I want. Wipe too much off. You kind of need to give it water to make it more transparent. So to get those really light areas, I can go in with my mountain color now. And because it's still wet, it should soften the edge on its own. There's areas there that are kind of important. I do want to figure out how to fix those poppies. Let's see if I can get some of those poppies. You can go darker on the inside, but get the light on there first. You can see the wind is kind of blowing in this direction because the flowers are going that way. And then the purple and the yellow color together, that yellowy orange is a complementary feeling in there. So that's a happy painting. Yeah, it's kind of like a Bob Ross. This is my happy painting. Tree. Just kind of bringing it alive. And if you do it in the right places, you know, it's the same kind of thing. You'll get a bunch of poppies all together. Some of them are just kind of barely there. Some of them are falling over. Orangish dots in here. You won't see anything for such a long time, any color on the hills. It will be so dry, and then suddenly one day you'll take a drive and the whole hill will be covered. Well, that really spruced it up. It's interesting how that'll happen that way. This is not a typical scene for me, so it's kind of nice change. Do some sky holes in there, little tiny dots. It's far away, so, and then it's not oil paint, so I'm not worried about, you know, getting chemicals on me or anything. And I don't know, maybe there are some harmful things in this also, but think about these trees and how they really are, you can see through some of these areas where they're a little more wispy. So that's how you can bring variation into that. And you may not be able to really tell that these are rocks in here, but it really doesn't matter, because the point is, it's not, don't worry so much about the thing that you're painting. You know, look at the design. Is it supporting what you want to say? I can make these look more like rocks in here if I want to. You can do that with color too. These have a little oranginess. Sometimes with these you really need to go more simple. There's a little bit of a top surface to that rock. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been wanting to bring out some gouache to give you one more tool to use when you go out to do plein air painting. If I do this out in the field, I can bring something like this in and do my oil paintings from this. So that's how I would use a tool like the gouache. So where it's not convenient to pull out my oil paints, then the gouache will be an optional tool that I can use to make my reference paintings. Hope you enjoyed this gouache painting experience with me. Get out there and paint, whether you're painting with oils or gouache or watercolor, whatever you're doing, even colored pencils. But please get out and try getting some plein air studies done so you can get back into the studio. Winter is coming around the bend and you may not be able to get out all that much, so having those reference paintings, the studies, the small studies to work with in the studio is like gold. So happy painting. This is Lis Nielsen, Artist in the Woods. Thanks for watching.